I thought I was just sitting in today because I am on a flight to the background and all of that. But with Monique having her it's going to get started. We'll have to have Lieutenant Salvia with us give us an update on what's been going on. You're on mute right now. You're on mute. Can you hear me? You're on mute. You're muted.
Hey, good evening. It just sounds a little distorted on my end. I don't know if it's my connection or not.
It might be me. I think it might be my earbud.
Yeah, we can hear you, Lieutenant.
Okay. Do you guys want to start, or I'm just trying to see?
Yeah, they want you to start because they know you have a time constraint.
All right, good. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Gerard Salvia. I'm the Special Operations Lieutenant for the 30th Precinct. I love working up here. I got 16 years with the department. This is my 12th command, second time in Manhattan North, so it's really nice to be in Hamilton Heights area. So I've been sitting on a few meetings for the good Captain Rose. Tonight we have our community council meeting, and Monique asked me to speak about what we're doing about cannabis enforcement. So the department shifted a little bit. We're working with the sheriffs now in regards to cannabis enforcement. The NYPD, we're still making observations and taking complaints and monitoring areas. We're taking that information and then we're processing it, put into like an intel package, and from there we'll converge with the sheriff's department. And then from there we'll look at places that are not acting within the guidelines if they're unlicensed. The sheriffs will then conduct an inspection, and this is under Operation Padlock. We'll conduct an inspection into one of these facilities. We find any violations, sheriff will take the summary action. The NYPD will secure the area, process any goods that can't be sold anymore. So at least there's an integrity issue there where we'll take care of it. It goes to the NYPD's vouchering system. From what can I tell you right now, approximately there's 190 shops on our radar that we've closed down, and that goes across all 8 boroughs. The sheriffs work with 10 NYPD teams, otherwise known as critical response teams, when they conduct these inspections. And recently, the Department of Finance has allowed 6 of the establishments to reopen. And that's, again, probably because they were doing things correctly or whatever violations they were able to rectify. This is ongoing. This isn't something that's going to stop. The mayor's involved. My biggest concern in the 3-0 is we have approximately 20 smoke shops in general. One of the things I look for is selling cannabis products to underage, specifically our youth. We do have quite a few schools here, as everyone here knows, in the 3-0 precinct. And that's pretty much been it. For the most part, my youth officers continue to engage areas where youth would congregate, and our specialty units do make observations, and we confer with the field intelligence teams and the detective bureaus. If we see something, it's not going to go untouched. We're still involved, but by going with the sheriffs, I think it's a cleaner way of enforcement. We will padlock the area shut. And like I said, with the exception of these 6 locations in the city that were recently reopened, 190 operations conducted successfully, I think made a little bit better for everyone out there. If you guys want to drop me an email, my email is Gerard, GERARD Salvia, SALVIA at NYPD.org. Miss Monique can put it in the chat. If you guys want, I could take some questions for a couple of minutes, and then I have to head up to the community council meeting. They're honoring 8 of our cops today for some really wonderful work that they've done, including helping out a non-enforcement contact with an elderly female. So that gives us all the goosebumps, right? We like to hear those stories too. But if you guys want to give me a couple of questions, if the time permits, I'll be more than happy to take a few.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Lieutenant Salvia. I apologize to everyone profusely. Of course, I just took 20 years off my life trying to get into the Zoom. As you know, Murphy's Law, when things can go wrong, they go wrong. So there you go. I put your contact information in the chat, Lieutenant Salvia. Can everyone see it?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just resent it, Monique. You have sent it to me privately.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, everyone. It takes a village to make it work. Do we have any questions for the lieutenant? Because I know that enforcement, particularly of the illegal smoke shops in our CB, have been of concern to many of us. And we've heard a lot of different things in terms of strategy and things being done. And so please take the opportunity to ask the lieutenant if if you have any questions or want to bring any concerns to his attention.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Daria. Yes, please, Daria.
Forgive me if I'm distorted, because I think it's my but can you understand me though?
A little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna take hold on. Just a minute. One second, and maybe it'll make it better. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Much better.
Okay. Okay, so I have to turn you up and try to go somewhere where everybody can't hear me.
I just had a question. The ones that you said, the 6 that were reopened, were these licensed establishments, or these were unlicensed establishments?
That's a really good question. So from what I was told, there's only a couple of establishments in the city that have the actual bona fide licenses. And I think that's the part that the sheriffs look at. The places that were reopened, if they were open, if they were okayed by the Department of Finance, it gives me reason to believe that they're proper in their credentials.
Okay, but we're not sure. It was just.
I would say 90% that they're fine. If the Department of Finance wouldn't remove these padlocks if there was something wrong. I got the exact number. It's 192 we closed and only 6 were reopened. So I'm guessing those 6 probably had their credentials in transition. And I'm pretty confident in saying that.
Okay, were any of them in our district?
I'll tell you right now, in Manhattan North, total of 21 were closed. 19th precinct, 20 precinct, 23, 25, 26, 28, and the 4 were reopened. We're in the 19th precinct. Okay. So the 20 that's in the confines of the 30th precinct, we don't have any activity on it this time. On the same token, we don't have any calls for violence or any acts of violence at that right now either.
And last question, is it possible, is there a place where we might be able to see a listing of these establishments?
The information I have is law enforcement sensitive, but if I see in person, we'll talk more offline if that's okay.
That's fine. Thank you.
So, Lieutenant, before you go, I just want to be clear with what I thought I heard you say. 21 were closed in Manhattan North?
No, Manhattan. All right. So the confines of Manhattan North, we have 21 establishments that were closed. That's out of the 190 92. So
Right.
there's only, and 4 of them were reopened.
And how many were in RCB?
I only know the 30th precinct. You guys are in any other precincts besides the 30th? What other precincts is the CB9 cover?
I think 26,
Two
correct,
six.
guys?
Two
Follow?
six, 2-6 and the 30th.
The
Uh-huh.
2-6 had one that was closed on 1272 Amsterdam. I know I did some work on this one myself. So that one was closed on, the day of inspection was May 15th, and that was closed and padlocked on May 15th.
And the
I
30,
I think this is the one we spoke about because I think it's near the school. I think we might have spoken about this one before.
maybe.
Mhm.
Any in the 30th precinct? I mean,
None,
I'm sorry, 30th. Well, yeah, the 30th in terms as it relates to our CB.
so right now, the 30th precinct, they haven't done any work it's in the citywide priority order.
Okay,
Upsetting enough, where I grew up, one of them just reopened and I know exactly where that is, so I know where quite a few people are coming from right now. I'll definitely keep doing what I'm doing and have what my youth officer doing and get that information out. And I'll try to get us pushed for the next inspection. But the 19th, apparently, I mean, they were able to. There's quite a few of them that they had there. The 19th and the 2-5 seem to be like the most overall.
oh, with the most illegal establishments, 19th precinct and 25th precinct.
They seem to have a significant amount just by looking at the list I have here without straw counting them. So I'm assuming between the K2 and everything else that's going on, the 2-5 and the 19th being another junction area, they're probably a little bit more on the priority list. But like I said, if I get a little bit more intel and I'll try to make a few calls, I'll see what we could do on our end here to get the 3-0 pushed up on that list. I'm definitely still monitoring these areas, because we're not doing enforcement, we're still doing observations and inspections. A lot of that information is what kind of gets us higher up on the batting order.
Okay. I've written some notes. I'll listen to the recording. If I didn't capture everything as I try to prepare the minute, I'll touch base with you because I want to make sure they're accurate. Are there any other questions for those of our members on? And I'm going to ask our task force members if you can put your camera on, please.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Carlton? Okay. I don't know if that means no or hello.
Ask what would get a license.
Is there something in there? Oh,
Yes, so
Mario.
what
okay.
would get a licensed established padlock? So that's a great question. It would be whatever violations the sheriff would find on the inspection. The sheriffs have a larger list of enforcement codes we're obviously not familiar with. They handle seizures. So if it might have been I'm just gonna guess, and I don't have any confirmation because they didn't forward us the paperwork, they just forwarded us the listings. So I would assume something that would be against their license, probably an underage sale or products that weren't part of their licensing agreement. I'm kind of thinking of it. I'm trying to think of it in a way because this cannabis enforcement's kind of new. So for most of us out there, let's go back when we were kids, right? And we knew that certain delis and bodegas were selling beer to kids, right? Or the untaxed cigarettes. I have a feeling that this method of enforcement is very close to being in that line. What I do like is because the NYPD does secure property, we're taking care of that part. So whatever is being seized and as well as it being padlocked, we're guarding that premise until that padlock is complete. And I think that's an important part for us to do and defer the enforcement to the sheriffs. I think that's a smart move.
All right. Daria said thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else have questions for the lieutenant before we release him to his other obligation? And once again, Lieutenant, I apologize for being late.
That's all right. Listen, I'm just glad I had the time here. I could go for about another minute or two. If you guys need anything else, please let me know.
Any other burning questions, guys? I guess if not, oh, I heard a yes. Go ahead, Carlton.
Yes, is this method that you're using close to serial like a prohibition kind of thing? When you sever the legal and illegal stores and
So again, the sheriffs are the lead on enforcement end. We're more on site security and securing the property. So whatever the sheriff finds on those inspections, I don't have a list of how many of these cannabis establishments are legal. From what I have been told, that people who are fully and completely licensed isn't very high. If someone from the community board can even get me a list of that, that would be great. It's not something I usually get. But yeah, so the sheriffs are doing the enforcement. We're more of site and property security. It's a good partnership because this is what the sheriffs do better than anyone else.
Let me see. I don't see another hand up. A question, Lieutenant. So I guess so one thing that would be helpful to you is to give you a list of the establishments that we think are illegal. I'm sorry, maybe I didn't hear you right.
If someone could present to me a list of anything that I think the question is, are they licensed or unlicensed? It's not something that I'm familiar with of having a list of who is licensed to sell marijuana or cannabis products. If the community board could present to me, that would be great. I just don't know where I would get that from. And with everything else that we're looking at, I have to rely on our partners in the sheriff's department to kind of handle that part. Because it seems like I'm going to get questions on what's licensed and what's not, and that's not really in my my scope. And if it is, if you could present that information, I'll gladly accept it and utilize it in some capacity.
I will say to you, Lieutenant, that our understanding is that any establishment that's licensed should be listed on the OCM website. And I think they do that periodically and showing dots throughout the downstate area as well as upstate, but downstate, showing which ones have come on board. So I guess it's a matter of us going in and looking and seeing when they come on board. We don't necessarily get informed of that, which we consider it to be problematic. And I know I've spoken to the chair about that, but
Right.
that is one way we find out, which is when they post it on their website. The other thing too is my understanding is that the legal establishments are supposed to have a sticker posted in their window saying that they're legalized. I'm trying to recall what that sticker should look like, and maybe something I can get a hold of and share at the next meeting.
Yeah,
But legal establishments have a sticker. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm certainly not too proud to beg for assistance. So like I said, if you bring it to me, if there's something we could possibly do, I just seen someone just shared it, which is great. We'll do our best, but I don't have a bona fide list of who's licensed and who's not.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions or comments? I think, Carl, do you have any questions? I see your name up there. And welcome, Carl. And Solomon. Okay. Oh, thank you, Solomon. Is that from the OCM website?
That's from the OCM website. There's a adult use dispensary location verification tool. So I put the link in the chat. And then I also put a link to how the licensed dispensary seal should look like.
Thank you, Solomon.
I will send that to Lieutenant Salvia, so he has that in his email.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll copy you on it, Monique.
Very good. Thank you. So, okay, so Lieutenant, I know you've been very generous with your time, and I hope you can join us once a month, even if it's for a few minutes. If nothing has changed, you could jump on and say nothing has changed in terms of further closures, but it's just nice to have you or a member of your team just share with us so that we are aware.
So as I get updates, and we'll talk obviously a week before the meeting. For some reason I can't get on, I'll give you the information, but I'm very transparent. So whatever I can provide to you guys, I definitely will, okay?
Very good. So,
All right.
so with that said, thank you so much for joining us, and
Guys,
enjoy the rest of your evening.
thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
safe.
Okay. Hakil, I am in. It looks like everything is okay. So if you want to turn over co-hosting to me, you can. And as I said before to everyone, good evening. Thank you so much for being on time. And I apologize.
You're the host.
Huh?
You're the host. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You
You're
said
the
I am
host.
the host?
Yes, you are the host.
Okay, I didn't see it come up. That's why to accept. But thank you. As I was saying, I apologize for being late. I thank you all for coming on. And also thank you for your support during this challenging time for me. And that's all I can say. I depend on all of you together. We work together to try to keep this thing moving forward. I'm expecting someone from City College, Tamisha, to come and jump on and report out because she said she can join us. And you know, I usually like to have City College jump on to share any upcoming activities that they have going on. But I can tell you, I apologize. I have to, okay, so, all right, Deirdre. I know that they have some events coming up on June 11th. I won't go into too much detail because hopefully she'll share. But there's something on cannabis and the body, understanding the cannabinoid systems. I think you guys have been getting the emails, but if you haven't, I'll try to share this with you. That's going to be on June 11th, virtual from 11 to 12:15. And I think it might be a part of their series, their webinar series. And Jasmine Hurd is going to, Yasmin Hurd, Dr. Yasmin Hurd from Mount Sinai, looks like she'll be a feature speaker, and she participated in the public health forum that happened in March. She's wonderful. She's very passionate about this issue. And if you guys can join, you should. Certainly, I think I'm free and I'm going to try to jump on. There's also something else called therapeutic applications of cannabis. That's a webinar too. I guess this is a part of this series, episode 4. And that's going to be on June 25th at the end of the day. And the featured speaker for this will be Dr. Douglas Charles, who's a farmer, and Maurice Henson. So, like I said, I'll share more of this with you. And if Tomisha comes on, she can share anything else that I haven't covered. Now, I don't know if you guys, if in the last meeting, which I think was held in March, and I had to step away, was there any review about the cannabis survey? Because I know City College was gathering information to get a better understanding about the understanding of cannabis in our CB. Was that shared at the March meeting? Do you guys recall? If not, I want to make sure I just ask for that information. That's the only reason I'm asking. So, you know, there you go.
My recollection, Monique, is that they had a separate Eventbrite event that they had shared information about, that where they did discuss the results.
I see.
I don't think, from what I remember, they couldn't disseminate the results of the survey based on some research compliance restrictions. So they had to present it first. I think it had something to do with the grant that they received. So they presented it And there's certain, there was certain information that they could share after it was publicly, I guess, presented. And I attended that event. I took notes on it. I have to dig it up and I'll send it to you.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Because I was curious to hear what the outcome was from that. And like I said, if Tamisha comes on, maybe she can share, because I believe there was some stuff that was gathered. So there you go. We like our partnership with City College. They're doing great work, and we want to continue partnering with them to make sure we're up to date on everything that they have to offer, particularly as it relates to the subject matter. So until she comes on, I think we'll jump to the next thing. And I'm sorry, I normally would jump in and ask for the adoption of the agenda. And I guess I could still do that, but we've started. And, you know, the agenda was a short one, and I could certainly share it. But the focus of the agenda was, oh, Edwin is on. Hi, Edwin. Nice to see you.
Hi, Monique. How are you? Nice to hear you too and see you.
Thank you. As I said, this agenda is a short one. Welcome, call to order. We're a little bit out of order because of what transpired, but it's okay. And the adoption of the agenda is what it is at this particular point in time. The minutes, I'll touch base to see if I can gather the information from the March meeting. As you know, I wasn't there. Solomon and Daria, I'll try to follow up with you to see if there was anything that I can try to pull together. And there was no meeting held in April. We just heard from the lieutenant in regards to the enforcement updates, and we're looking to have Harlem Health Initiative join us. They have been invited and they told me they would. So I guess while we're waiting, perhaps we can jump to the rules and regulations, which has been, like, I would say, the bane of my existence with all of you. We keep going back and forward to this, and I'm hoping that we can get to a point where everybody feels good about what we have drafted and can use it as a guideline to help us as we are looking to bring on new establishments. My understanding at the last meeting is that there was one establishment that had stepped forward, and there was a good discussion. That was my understanding. As I said, I wasn't at that meeting. My understanding also is that we haven't had too many new applications come through, like some of the other community boards. I don't know what that means, but that has been the situation thus far, but we know more are coming. And so it would be great if we could try to finalize what we've talked about last time. And a lot of the stuff was cut down to make this simple. And then the stuff in red was stuff that we discussed and I believe was captured. And I want us to be able to look at it again. And, you know, I'm glad Edwin is here. I know as a person who also sits on the Health and Environment Committee, I tried to look at this with that lens, but I know that this is an issue that affects multiple committees. And so having feedback is welcome for sure. Now I see Daria's hand is up, but before Daria, you speak, can people see the rules and regulations? Is it visible?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Daria, go ahead, please. You're on mute.
Hi, Monique. At the last meeting, the last one that we had, what was that? March. This did come up. These have already been, we voted on these when we put them together. They've been finalized, and Victor said that we don't need to keep going over them in this committee. They just need to be presented to exec so that they can go before the full board. They're already voted on. We can't keep changing.
I mean, actually, I spoke to Victor. I wasn't under the impression that we,
I'm
in
sorry.
fact,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
thank you, Daria. I did speak to Victor, and actually, it wasn't clear to me after speaking to him that we had finalized what, you know,
It
what
was
we had,
finalized.
what we discussed, which is why I'm sharing it once more. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to share it again. I'm not
We
able.
can see it.
Oh,
We can see it, but yeah,
that's
it has been finalized. We voted on it. And when I brought it up in that last meeting, he said it didn't need to be done again. And we keep bringing it back and bringing it back. And we already, it's been voted on already. So to bring it back, I don't think is.
okay. Is that the understanding from the rest of the task force members? Because as I said, that wasn't the understanding I had from Victor. But if that was the understanding from the last meeting, I know what it looks like, which is why I brought it forward. And yes, I do want to present it to the executive board, which is why I want to make sure we're all on the same page before it is brought before the executive board. Now, as I said, I do not, did we lose somebody? What I was going to say is, I do not see me sharing the guidelines with you, so I'm not sure what's going on. But the stuff
what we
It
see, at
was,
least what I see on my screen, it says we're viewing your screen, and it shows the guidelines for the review of cannabis related applications. And it looks like it's
okay,
a Word document.
okay,
So we see
thank
that.
you.
Monique,
And what I
Okay.
do remember, we did go over this with Daria. And the rest of the members that joined that March meeting, we did go through everything that was in red
Okay.
and voted on it, and it you know, and it was, I think it was, from what I recall, it was unanimous.
Okay.
Now, I do know that New York State OCM had made some changes recently. And one of the things that Victor had mentioned is I believe it was the last exec board meeting, is that he wanted to know if what we voted on took into consideration the changes that OCM had made. And I think that's what we were supposed to kind of look into.
I see.
Mon-
So,
Monique,
yes.
hi. Quick question. Is it, can the public still make some comments to this and send it back to you?
Edwin, you're joining us, and certainly this is the opportunity that we're trying to use to make sure it's tight so that we are all on the same page. So if you want to share some feedback from the perspective of the health and environment, that would be welcome.
Okay.
And I would incorporate it and share it with the task force members just to make sure that, you know, we're good.
Absolutely. I'll send it to you in writing.
Okay. And let me know
Okay.
exactly where you want to include it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Edwin. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
So the other question or comment, Solomon, is whether or not we took the new, you said changes that the OCM had implemented, did we put that into consideration with this document? What are the new changes exactly?
It's on their website, you know, and again, it's not something that I looked at, you know, when it was, I looked at it initially when it first came out, but I would need to, kind of just re-engage myself with the content. But there were some, updates that they had made to their guidelines.
Okay.
Which, you know, we may want to take a look at again to see if we've captured everything. But you know, for the most part, I think where this ended up was it needed to be presented to the exec board, so that it could go to general board and then, you know, start being utilized.
I will say this, and Carolyn Solomon, maybe, I don't know if she mentioned this to you, because Carolyn shared her comments. She talked about the marshal's office and the, you know, and the precincts, which Lieutenant Salvo already addressed. So, you know, we know that changes are happening there to increase the enforcement. The other thing she mentioned was, oh, site consumption. Okay, so I know she mentioned site consumption is not on the OCM agenda. And so I guess I can look to see if that's been added. But there was a concern, because I think we mentioned it, that if it is on there, we talked about 2 a.m. is fine, being the time, I guess things should close down. So I'm gonna go look and see if they've addressed site consumption as one thing, because we were trying to be proactive. And I'll take a quick look at the regs section to see if there's anything else. And, you know, I would appreciate some help with that as well, to make sure I don't miss anything, because we worked very hard to get this document
I think,
clear and concise, so that it would be a usable guide for us as we review applications that were coming in. I'm sorry, somebody was going to say something?
yes, Monique, this is Edwin. I was gonna say that, you know, where did the 2 a.m. Number come from? Is that based on data, or was that an arbitrary number that was just picked? I think that we have other jurisdictions throughout the country that are not as heavily populated as New York City, but that also have a very condensed population in their cities, and they have legalized cannabis. We can see what they have done. And then we can, you know, sort of draw from that. And the website, Solomon, if you can share it, I'll take a look at it to see what they're saying about this, just so we can balance the quality of life of the people who will be surrounded by some of these establishments.
Right.
The
Go ahead,
2
Karen.
a.m. the 2 a.m. Timing was from based on what OCM was talking about, and also comparing with the SLA regulations. We looked at what was in place in the city for SLA and for OCM.
So that's good,
That's
Daria,
what we
to
Go
look
ahead.
at, because, you know, liquor doesn't have the same, you know, odor that cannabis has when folks are smoking it, right? In that form, they use cannabis. If you have it in other forms, you might not have that strong odor that might permeate to other, you know, to your neighbors. So
Yeah.
where did they come up with a 2 a.m.? Because if you're drinking a beer, that doesn't mean that it's going to go to your second floor tenants or those living right next to you.
We've once you look at what we've addressed all of that. We've addressed that the smell and the ventilation, all of that is addressed in the document. Very respectfully, Monique, this document, what we have gone over and voted on, needs to go ahead to exec and then to the full board. I understand tweaking it and everything, but there's not, once something has already been voted on in committee, it's voted on. That, I mean, that is what it is. And definitely if there are additions, clearly, you know, we can look at those things, but it sounds like everything that that we know of that is new, we've actually already addressed. So it just seems like we've been, you know, talking about the same issue that we actually have already gone over and voted on for a few months. But, you know, of course, we've been, you've been out and that sort of thing. But very respectfully, I don't know if I can make a motion that it goes on, but I don't think there needs to be a motion for that.
Right.
But it's already, this is already a done deal. It's already been voted on in committee.
Well, what I heard, Daria, is that at the last meeting it was voted on, but I also heard from what Solomon shared, that we want to make sure that whatever new things have come up, that we've addressed that. And I don't know if those new things have come up since convening in March. We're in May now.
Those things don't take away the unanimous vote though for what has already been. And again, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. I'm just,
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead,
you know,
Daria.
I do that and I don't mean anything by it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Go ahead, Daria.
And I'm just worried that we're going to take off soon and I'm gonna have to get off. But
Okay.
all of the things that I've seen as well that are new are things that we have looked at, that we've actually addressed, I guess, sort of preemptively.
Okay.
Because, you know, we got deep down in this document.
So, and that's fine, because as I said, I felt we were being proactive, even with the on-site consumption stuff, which wasn't necessarily being talked about a lot, and we were thinking about it. At the end of the day, like I said, I want us to all be on the same page so that when this is presented to exec, it's, you know, it could be done, and there might be further discussion, but I just don't want any surprises. Because you're right, we've been dealing with this for a long time, and nobody more than me wants it to be concluded. Period. So that we can, in fact, feel comfortable and be ahead of the game in having something that can be used to help guide us as we get more applications in. So even though so I'm not sure what Edwin wanted to share. I would tell Edwin to send it anyway, but if we're thinking, and Edwin, I'm hoping that there aren't too many tweaks that you are thinking need to be made. Because I am very eager to make sure, you know, we give the executive committee an opportunity to look at this and weigh in so that eventually it can't be presented at general. I would like to see us conclude this session so that maybe when we start again, we have something in hand to use when applications come in.
Can it go forward to exec, and Edwin, if Edwin has additions at exec, then we just add them there instead of it just being stuck here in committee?
Friendly amendments in terms of recommendations that Edwin might want to offer, that is a way to go as well. Edwin, are you open to that?
Sure, I am. I'll send it to you anyways, Monique, into the committee so you guys can look at it. I'll send you also some references so you can read it. I think that all of us here have the same North Star, which is the well-being of the community. And the more information we have, the closer we can get to that goal. So I'll share it. You guys can look at it. And then we can make the best decision moving forward based on what I was saying and what you guys have.
Okay, I would appreciate that. So as things stand now, we're going to send this forward to the exec to be viewed in the executive committee in June. We can certainly look at what Edwin has to share, but he will present it as friendly changes at the June meeting, exec meeting. That way we can all be there together and look at it and, you know, work it through. And hopefully it's not extensive. I'm hoping. I'm not, you know, I'm just saying. I'm hoping, I say that because I'm hoping that we were thoughtful enough to capture everything, because we have been discussing this for a while.
Yeah, and Monique, I shared the link to the regulations that that OCM put forth. They made some changes on May 10th and posted them just based on a preliminary glance here. I don't think it impacts us in any way. I think we've, like Daria said, we've been proactive about that. But yeah, take a look at it and see for yourself.
Okay, very good.
So I just have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This is a very naive question. You guys probably already answered it. Where would these in which committee would this license go? Would it come through this committee?
It would. It would come.
Oh,
through,
awesome.
Yeah. Yes, it would come through the Cannabis Task Force, and it's not so much the licenses, but the applications, Edwin, come to us. and we review them, and we use these guidelines. And also we have a questionnaire that we submit to those who apply. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's your sweetie pie?
Yes, sorry.
So no, it's okay. You're a working dad. The questionnaires that we give to our applicants, we ask more questions to get a sense of, you know, their intentions, if they are even from our community, and what they plan to do while they're here to give back. That is a questionnaire that I'll reshare, and the questionnaire is pretty thorough. So we use that to help us get a better understanding of who's coming, and use that to help us make a decision if we want to approve someone or not approve. To share if we're supportive of somebody opening up an establishment, and that gets sent to OCM. OCM ultimately makes the decision to decide through a lottery if somebody can open up a place somewhere versus not. We don't make that final decision. We just send our comments stating if we have concerns or stating if we're supportive. Just so that you understand that.
Thank you for the clarification. I just wanted to make, just to make sure that, because of the historical context that exists with cannabis, and we know that we have other committees where the NYPD has somewhat of, an influence, and they're there. This is a very safe space for us to just focus on the committee, on the licenses and the community, and for folks to not feel like, hey, I have to still go through this process with the same folks who were enforcing this in the past.
Right. I mean, once again, we're trying to create a space, and we always emphasize that we support the establishment of legal establishments. Period. Because by being legal, we support the health and well-being of our community, and we try to stress that. And when we speak and interview people, we try to do that without interrogating them, but letting them know that, we're trying to be supportive and provide resources so that people can be successful. So, there you go. I know Tamisha was on. Is she still there? I hope she didn't jump off. I saw her come in. Tamisha, are you there?
Hi. Yes, I'm here.
Hi, how
Hi.
are you?
I'm good. How are y'all? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I had the worst time getting on, so no worries. I know that you have to, I think, jump off. So I'm gonna let you speak and share updates in terms of what your team is doing at the Harlem Health Initiative. So I started talking about the upcoming programs that you guys have in June, and as a part of the webinar series. I don't know. I just gave dates and who the feature speakers were. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to add. That's the first thing. And then secondly, I also had asked whether or not you had shared any results from the cannabis survey that was sent out a while ago. And if you did not, or if you have results, maybe you can give us a brief summation of what the survey results showed, and then anything else that's going on.
Yeah. So the Cannabis Equity webinar series, that series is essentially focusing on really helping people understand the industry as a whole beyond the plant, and thinking about workforce development and what that looks like for industries like we're the public health school, so public health professionals, what that looks like for public health professionals entering the space, and what skills we already have and how they transfer over. So thinking about community health workers, and how that transfers over, like if they have if they're a caregiver in.
Uh-oh. Did she freeze? Oh my God. The gremlins are out. This is bad. I didn't know. Oh, did we lose Daria too? Can you guys hear me? Oh,
Yeah, we hear you. I bet
Yeah, we can
Derek
hear.
probably
I
took
think
off.
Yeah, Daria, she had to get to work.
Oh, okay. She had to jump off. All right. And Tamisha looks like she's frozen. Shoot. Oh my Lord. I don't know what to say. Okay. I guess she'll either get off and jump back in, and we can hear the rest of what she had to say. Okay, she'll be jumping back in, hopefully momentarily. What I was going to say is, so good. I will just conclude with those, going back to the rules and regulations. So we're all good. The goal is to have that presented at the June executive meeting. Right, everyone? Okay, good. Hallelujah. And I look, Chris is smiling. You don't know. That's like, I feel like I got a monkey off my back to move that forward. What, Chris?
I said, it looks like we're making progress.
Yeah, you know, baby steps, but we're making it. I'd rather be thoughtful and deliberative than quick and end up having to eat our words. I am looking to see if Thomasia is joining us back again. That's what a bummer. I tell you. That's all I have to say. The tech gremlins are not being very kind to us. That's all I can share. We'll wait a few more minutes to see if we can get her back on. And as I said, the goal will be for us to get off pretty quickly. I don't want to keep you guys more than we have to, especially since maybe you guys are preparing for the long holiday weekend. Hopefully you have some good plans stored, even if it means just resting. Rest is good. So I want to make sure that you guys have a safe and holiday weekend. Okay, it's only six of us on. Okay, I'm trying to see if she's trying to get back in. Hold on, let me check my email. And for some reason, if she can't join us again, then I'll ask her to share some notes with me. Meanwhile, are there any other things that we need to address as it relates to the task force? And like I said, I thank all of you for your patience and support with everything that's happened with me. Okay, let me send her a note. And once again, if she's not able to join us again, then we will conclude. Over you. Okay. Give me a minute. Okay. And oh, okay. It looks like she's back on. Thomasia? There you go. We see you, but we don't hear you. I'm gonna close this.
I can't hear her.
Yeah,
It looks like she's trying to speak.
Yeah, your audio is not on.
Okay, I can hear you guys now. Can you hear
Now
me?
we hear you. Yes,
Now we
now we
hear
hear you.
Okay, sorry. It does not want to work with me today.
Yeah.
But I was saying, so the equity webinar series, it's geared toward really helping those professionals who really don't understand the industry and the cannabis space and what that means. I think a lot of focus has been on dispensary development. That's really helping people understand this is a vast industry and it needs to be built out with professionals outside of those people who want to touch the plant. And so coming up, we'll have Dr. Hurd. She works with Mount Sinai. She does a lot of neurological work in terms of understanding the plant in the body over time. And so she's going to talk about the endocannabinoid system and what that means and what that looks like for your body. And then on the 25th, we'll have Dr. Maurice Henson, who is a primary care physician as well as a cannabis physician, and Dr. Douglas Charles, who's a pharmacist, have a conversation around the therapeutic effects of cannabis in the body. I think there's a lot of conversation about the impacts of it, and a lot of the conversations surrounded by a lot of myths that have to be dispelled. And so having that conversation about what the use looks like in your adult body, in your youth body. And so they'll have that conversation. It'll be more like a fireside chat discussion based. We have some seats open in person. If anyone of you want to come, just let us know. The seats are pretty limited. We want to keep it to about 30 people for the in person, so we can keep it a small discussion. Let's see, that's programming. Yes, and then so the idea for that series was for it to kind of be like a 10-episode series, but it's expanded. And so also, if you guys have any ideas about anything in your community, conversations people are having around cannabis, around workforce development that maybe falls in the public health realm, that we can have that conversation, we can add that to the series as well. It's kind of going to start to be something more continuous. And so it'll be a mix of virtual as well as like those hybrid, small discussion-based conversations, depending on the topic. The survey, we don't have any updates on the survey just yet. We just finished up the data for the crime and the association with the unlicensed illicit dispensaries in the city. Were you guys able to go to that April 3rd or get the update from the April 3rd? I don't want to call it like a forum, but or a press release, but Dr. Haley had a little conference and discussed that data. Did you guys get to come to that? So
Yeah, I was able to attend, but I think the task force was looking for like a summary of the findings. I know that couldn't be discussed until it was like publicly disclosed, from what I remember.
Yeah, so the summary of the survey findings or the summary of the April 3rd findings?
The April 3rd findings.
Yeah, so essentially it's still, we're waiting. So the issue is we're waiting to be, it's ready to be published. We're just waiting on APH to confirm the whole formatting and the citations of the paper before they'll publish it. But overall, the summary of it is that there's a large association between where these illicit shops are deciding or being allowed to open up, and then as it pertains to those low resource communities. And so when we look at Harlem as a whole, when we look at 9, 10, and 11 and compare them, 11 has 3 times the illicit dispensaries than CB9 does. And we think about, when we compare that to the low resources in 11 as opposed to 9, there's a connection. Not saying that the research isn't saying that these shops are causing the crime. The big thing to note about this is it's an association. And so the crime data that we had prior to getting the data for the locations of the dispensaries. And so what the summary is showing is there's an association between, which in a sense, from a public health standpoint, it tells the story of the predatory nature of a lot of these places, like these illicit dispensaries, and where they choose to set up shop. And so when we compare that to, let's say, alcohol outlets and the saturation of those places in areas that are low resourced, and you compare that to the 3 times the number of, so essentially 11 has 3 times the number of alcohol outlets, they have 3 times the number of illicit dispensaries, and you compare that to how many schools they have, how many churches they have a a lot less protective factors than they do risk factors in their area. And so it continues to tell the story of business and capitalism and how it tends to prey on those low resource areas, as opposed to, we go and look at a more wealthier community board. And so we're hoping to expand this into, we're hoping to redo Harlem, not this summer, but this fall. And so do a whole nother canvas and a whole nother walk to see what the changes are with the new updates. We're kind of trying to see what's happening with OCM and getting that new policy to do some enforcement. It seems like they're moving a little bit faster in terms of shutting places down. And so I'm going to give that a minute to kind of plateau before we go back out and do canvassing. But that's essentially the summary. It's telling the association of this narrative of the predatory nature of these low resource areas and the continuation of businesses, especially those that don't really pose, shall I say, benefits economically, socially, to the youth, to the populations in that area. They aren't adding anything positive to the community per se. They're just kind of there to suck communities dry economically. And so these places are opening up shop. Their taxes aren't going back to that social equity fund. Their people are not from there. A lot of them sometimes are selling to youth. And so really telling that narrative. that's the summary pretty much of it. The actual numbers will be in the paper itself. But overall, CB11 had 3 times the number. And also a key thing also is to recognize that with them planting, there's not a difference in the, how do I say, there's not a class difference, economic class difference in how they're choosing to set up shop. And so that means if we were to, let's say, do what's the right word I want to use? A map marker of the quantity of them. I think a lot of times when we talk about less resource areas, those people who tend to make a little bit more like to disassociate themselves from that conversation. But the key thing is these places are not discriminating based on what income you're bringing in. If you're in that area, they're still setting up shop next to your kids' schools, next to your churches, next to, okay. But yeah, so that's essentially the showing. It really shows that there's a large association that of historically predatory nature of a lot of non-beneficial businesses to low resource areas.
Edwin, I see your hand is up. Ask your question, and Thomasina, I have a question.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks, for your presentation and for giving a perspective from a historical standpoint when we look at alcohol and what has happened also to communities of color and underrepresented community. And I will also say communities with a low political capital. We have to be very careful with some of these, new establishment coming into certain communities that have low political capital. And we see what it looks like already when there's an issue happening in the Upper East Side, there's an issue happening in Tribeca. There will be a different response than what you would have here in Harlem. The only way, again, I will repeat this, that we can compare equity is by looking at other communities and seeing the different treatment that we have. I have heard before, we're a unique community. We don't want to compare ourselves to others. Well, the only way we can see the difference on how we're treated, and that's called inequities. So we have to be very careful with this stuff because right now we have a problem at 139 with an establishment that's playing extremely loud music. I bet you that if this was happening right next to Lenox Hill, that will be taken care of the next day.
That's also why they're setting up shop in areas. It's basically areas like Harlem because they understand. They know that there's low political capital in these areas.
Low political capital,
yeah,
education, and we have to be careful we don't add insult to injury. And when we talk about benefit, I'm in the business program now. I look at net benefit. Don't just show me a couple of programs that you're doing, and yet you're creating more harm than good. Let's look at what the net benefit is.
Yeah.
Let's put the pluses and negatives. So, Ms. Hicks, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for bringing that perspective, because we will have many people that look like us selling the community out. It has happened over and over historically. This goes back all the way back to slavery. Mm-hmm. Slavery could not have happened if you didn't have people that look like us selling us out. So we got to be very careful.
Go ahead, Thomas. Thomasina, did you want to say something to that?
I was saying no. I was saying he's exactly right. He's exactly right.
So, okay, very good. My question to you is this, and thank you, Edwin. So the survey results that I was thinking of, you guys had done a survey earlier in the year. So is that a different survey than the results you just shared with us now? Or was it all one of the same that got, that evolved over time?
Yeah, so it's essentially one of the same. It's the survey was a part of the larger research project, so it's in components. So the crime paper was first, and so then there'll be a paper in terms of perspective, and then there'll be a paper because it was so the project consumed of the canvassing, the survey, and the mapping. So it's all three of them combined. So it's a matter of now that we have the map synthesized, it's a matter of now taking the perspective from the community and looking at it in terms of now that we know the layout, we have the GIS mapping, what the perspectives are in comparison to the locations of the shops.
So got it. Thank you. Edwin, is there?
Monique, can I ask something real quick?
Yes.
Additionally, there was just a paper that came out on the Wall Street Journal that the consumption of cannabis product and cannabis, is higher in the US right now than alcohol. So big money is looking at this and how the pivot in consumption of substances are changing the US and behavior. Let's make sure that our communities, we learn from history and we don't become victim twice, because there will be a lot of marketing coming in, and marketing is trying to persuade your perception. And let's not forget history when it comes to this.
You are absolutely right. And, as was shared, the goal is to educate and support, to provide information in the community, Edwin, so that people are more aware, for one. Meanwhile, also us as residents being aware of the predatory nature of people trying to come in and establish places without necessarily having our well-being in mind. So we have like two things happening at the same time, and we're trying to tackle both of those two things, or I guess operate in a parallel way where we can get information out, be supportive, but also keep our eye on the things that hurt our community and try to tap those things down so that we can, be in a more advantageous position to roll out the cannabis, I'm going to say train. The train is moving very fast, and we're trying to make sure we can stay on the train and guide the train so that it works to our benefit. So those metaphors were a little janky, I know, but I was trying to be creative. So that's why we have City College here. We appreciate everything you're doing to provide information and educate us. And that's why we love you guys and appreciate when you're here.
Ms. Higgs, you're muted. We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I was saying our goal in public health is always to give people the facts. We don't really ever like to tell people what to do, how to do it. It's just more so letting people know, like, this is what's happening. And these are the tools you can take to do what you choose to do with those tools. So we're looking to do more research in terms of understanding benefits, harms, hazards, risk in terms of legalization. We're hoping with the potential rescheduling of it to Schedule 3 that it'll open up more research doors for us in the school. It'll be, the thing right now is because we are a federally funded university, those lines we have to kind of toe when working with research in it. So we're hoping that, like, with the rescheduling, that more of our professors will be looking to, like, do more research as it pertains to the benefits and harms of the plant, especially with our community.
Yeah. Chris, I see your hand. And that's a good point you make in terms of the rescheduling of cannabis from, from 1 to
3.
To 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that removes some of the barriers that are associated with a Schedule 1 drug. So you're right. Hopefully when that happens, that will change the landscape and make things a little bit different and easier, and more research can be done. Chris, do you have something? Hold on, Edwin. Chris had her hand up.
Thank you very much for recognizing me. Thank you, Ms. Hicks, for your presentation. I hate to put a wet blanket on everything, I guess it's something that is scheduled from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, but just remember, the tobacco companies rolled out a product and got millions of people. They put enough stuff into it to get millions of people addicted to it. And that's how they made huge profits for generations. Okay? They didn't have any schedules and this and that, but, it's something worth keeping in mind. That's all.
Tamisha, you're muted.
I don't, I'm in the office today and it's not working with me. But the Dr. Haley, the professor who is the lead principal investigator on the research study, he used to chair the for APH, the committee for drug abuse, alcohol and tobacco drug abuse. So he's definitely has that in the back of his mind in terms of the connections between the alcohol industry, the tobacco industry, and what that will look like for the cannabis industry.
Very good, very good. Edwin, were you going to say something?
I was going to add that, let's not forget right now, the opioid epidemic happened, with the overprescription of a medication that was FDA approved, and providers who were educated, doctors, at a minimum, a nurse practitioner who has 7 years of education, were the one pumping these drugs. So let's not underestimate the power of marketing, the power of political pressure to push certain things forward. If you had an entire nation right now that we have our youth between the ages of, I think it's 18 to 45, the number one reason for death is drug overdoses. We have an epidemic of drug overdoses. We have to be very vigilant, and it is, very, political, because folks are like, look, we cannot let the train go. We want to be on that train. We want to create equity, but we have to be careful the other side to that sword, and that we don't continue to keep our communities being victims of certain, political disadvantage that has happened and are continuing to happen here right now today. Because once we're in it, to get out, it will be a very different story for us than what it looks like for other communities.
Very good. And that's been appreciated. So thank you for sharing that as well. So keep coming and sharing. We support City College in their work and appreciate it. And we'll keep doing what we can to create a forum here where we can educate the members of our community, because that's important. Knowledge is power.
Yeah,
So
thank you all so much for having us and your continued support. And just let us know what else you guys need. We're focusing a lot on cannabis, but we're a public health school. So when we think about housing, workforce, food quality, we do it all. So just let us know whatever you guys need.
very good. We will. Yeah, I'm going to share with all of you as we get ready to wrap up an article that Victor shared about elders or more people who are more senior in their years smoking, I guess, or using cannabis, but some of them getting quite sick. I think the commentary in terms of dealing with people who are more senior, the comment was that people forget about seniors. They do have a life and they are engaging and doing different things. And some of the seniors are, I guess, misusing cannabis as well. I have to go back and read the articles because I read it quickly, but I'll add that to the notes to share with everybody who joined us to read, because I thought it was quite fascinating to read that. And that's why the education is important, to as was said, not tell people what to do, but to arm people with the knowledge so they can act in a more responsible way. So I thought that was funny, and I wanted to share that, and not funny in a good way, funny just because you don't think about it.
Monique, if I might add, seniors, they are consumer of the mass media that we're all attacked by. They can also be victims to false information. They also suffer from pain. And one of the things that has been sold is that, look, this is pretty much a side effect free solution to many of the problems that you have. I think that, you name it, the disease, they have it out there that this can cure it, right? They're very short of calling, if you're going through divorce, take this and we'll help you with it. Okay. But at the same time, seniors are also using different medications for different conditions. And when you use an enhancement like this, what are the consequences that it has on their overall health?
You're right. That's why we want to make sure we share, create, have a platform where we can share information, because knowledge is power. So yes, thank you, Edwin, for just emphasizing again the importance of getting information out, not just to our young people, but to our very senior people as well. Everybody on that scale is very important. That's why we're doing the work that we're doing. So with that said, I don't think there was anything else on the agenda. As I said, this agenda was short and sweet, as you can see. And so the next meeting is scheduled for the last Thursday in June, which is June 27th. And then we'll be off and running to try to rejuvenate ourselves and enjoy the summer if we have hopefully a real summer, a nice summer, so that we can come back in the fall and continue to work. But I certainly will be working with our partners as much as I can to gather information, so that when the fall comes, we can make sure that we're ready and able to, get off to a running start. So with that said, I would like to adjourn the meeting if there are no more questions or comments. Oh, Chris, I'm sorry, you have your hand up. I'll let you make the last comment before we conclude. Go ahead. And you're muted. Chris, you're muted.
You're muted, Chris.
You're still muted. Can't hear you, Chris. I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear anything. Nope, you're still muted. Do you want to write it in the chat? Do you want to write it in the chat, Chris? Because we can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Yeah, we just hear your mouth moving. Probably, I think it's the mic setup in the Zoom.
Well, I hear you, Edwin.
Yes, we cannot hear her.
Yeah, I can't hear her either. Yeah.
I hear Solomon. And Carl, do you want to give me a shout out?
I think she just froze too, so maybe her connection.
Somebody froze?
Oh,
we hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah,
Okay, I
I'm
had
good.
the mic. I think I turned the mic on. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Can you hear me?
I'm good.
Yes. I was saying Carl wanted to make sure that it wasn't me as the host. But go ahead, Chris.
All right. Well, I'll just be real short and to the point. It was great to hear the lady from the university come and give us some background information. The article about the senior citizens, I would like to read that, okay? Because we do need much more education, because people are talking about cannabis and they're excited about that. But there is the derivative from the cannabis called the CBD, okay, which does not contain that little chemical element that gets you high, the THC. And some people believe in CBD can help them with different medical ailments, such as arthritis and this and that. However, there haven't been any real good conclusive studies done on this. It's just anecdotal. So we just need lots more education. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you. Carl, do you want to add anything before we get ready to wrap up?
Yes, I noticed that in certain areas in our district and abroad that there's smokable heroin being sprinkled on cannabis. So after purchases of legal cannabis, some people, I don't know the percentage of, but some are sprinkling opioids on the weed to enhance it beyond its normal capacity.
Oh, wow. I haven't
And
heard
that's in the streets. It's been going on for some years now.
That's very true, Carl. And people, and some of them are even dying, getting in trouble with the fentanyl and overdosing, because they don't know that it has the fentanyl in it, that it's laced, and people are dying from that.
Yeah.
And we got to be very careful and aware of our people, because like I said, I'm not that old, but as a little kid, I experienced walking through a bed C, not a seabed, a bed sea. It was horrific to see all these people on Lenox Avenue, across the street from King Towers, where it used to be Forster Projects, all the way up to 125th Street. It was horrendous. It's something that I would never forget in my life. Okay, and we could add the rest to that.
You're right. I mean, as you said, the lacing of weed isn't new. It's been around for a minute now, which is why we want to, you know, as it becomes legal, there's still, you know, people out there not necessarily trying to do the right thing. And, you know, it's a matter of getting information out and educating people and just making sure that people are aware so they can be careful and make educated choices. So I appreciate you saying that, Carlton. Thank you. I think that's it. I know, Carl, I know you're a silent partner in terms of jumping on, and you're trying to do good work in the community. Is there anything you wanted to share with us before I get ready to wrap up the meeting, since you took the time to join us? Okay, maybe you stepped away and you're not able to speak.
Hello.
Yes, Carl.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm in the street. Well, I was listening to everything that everyone's saying, and you know, there is a high flux of cannabis products in the street now that are being sprayed, not just with opiates, but flavoring. That's not beneficial. A lot of people don't know, but it's not beneficial to people's lungs. They're spraying terpenes, which is flavoring basically used for vape pens, and they found the method to add flavor to the cannabis, but what they don't understand is that, from my knowledge, those terpenes have a bad effect on the lungs capacity, and studies have shown that some people, you're not going to get your lung function back after the negative effects of that terpene. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's something that we need to educate people about when it comes to that, you know.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we have to be vigilant. So we're going to be vigilant to keep getting that information out there. So with that said, I want to thank all of you and wish you all a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. And I am looking to conclude the meeting at 8:14. Are we all in agreement that we're going to adjourn at 8:14?
So move.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Very good.
Thank you.
Everyone be well. Thank you so much.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
everyone.
everyone. Happy holidays.
you,
Nice
everyone.
weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.